back to my channel. It is that time again where I answer your body mod questions. If you're new here, every single month I do a body mod Q&A. Sometimes these questions revolve around me and body mods specifically, or just questions about body mods in general. So if you would like to ask a question for the next body mod Q&A in November, you can either leave them in the comments below or follow me over on Instagram, wait for me to pop up the question box and ask over there. Questions are also anonymous, so you don't have to worry about asking certain questions that you just may not feel comfortable with your username attached to, so don't worry about that. But there were a lot of questions this month, so let's just go ahead and get right into them. Are there certain ear piercings that you think go really well together? I'm planning on getting a lot of piercings, but not sure which to put with which. I have to be honest, I am pretty bad when it comes to curating designs. I've been asked this before, like, how did you come up with which piercings to get on which ears and which ones went together? How I always answer that is I just kept swapping ears. So one month I'd be like, I want a double helix, and I'd get that on my right ear. So then the next piercing would go on my left ear, and I just kind of went back and forth, and I'm not big on symmetry when it comes to ear piercings, so I just alternated. But for me, I found that pretty much everything goes together, even like a tragus and your doth, which a lot of people are concerned won't go together because of like in-ear earbuds or things like that. But honestly, I have found that it still works pretty well. Now, I'm not sure how like a rook, a daith, or tragus, all three would go together, because I do have a rook on one ear and my daith on the other ear. So I'm not sure how all of those would go together, but honestly, it's just whatever feels good to you. Again, I am not the person to ask about that because I just went back and forth on my ears. That's the only way that I came up with the layout that I currently have. I got my lip pierced in February this year and it healed nicely, but I changed it to a hoop 2 months ago and it started to get irritated and it hurt. It still hurts and the inside of my lip has hard tissue around the hole. Should I change it back to the stud? Is it possible to wear a hoop once it's completely healed? Absolutely. Once it's completely healed, you definitely can wear a hoop. I honestly think hoops in general just cause irritation, because if you think about it, and this is why I always suggest don't heal a piercing with a hoop, because the hoop is curved, whereas any kind of just like regular piece of jewelry that you may have, like a labret, that's all going to be straight. So when it's healed straight and you put something curved in there, it's going to be a little bit irritated even if it is completely healed, just because it's not the shape that it healed to. After some time of having it in there and just kind of babying it a little bit, it should relax on being irritated. However, I will say that the little tiny bump, like the hard bump that you feel on the inside, is pretty normal. That's not your standard piercing bump. That just kind of comes with the territory of lip piercings. Not everyone deals with it. I myself deal with it every now and then with my philtrum, which is completely healed, doesn't have any issues. It just sometimes pops up. Food, particles, anything like that gets caught underneath the jewelry, kind of rubs on it, irritates it a little bit. You just make sure that you continue to rinse out your mouth or anything like that. So I wouldn't say that that part is necessarily the hoops doing, but again, if you healed it with a labret or just a straight barbell type of jewelry, and then you put that hoop in, it's going to be a little frustrated with you at first just because it's a different type of shape. But if your piercing is completely healed, then you should be able to put a hoop in there. It just may take a little bit of time to get used to. Where can I buy the highest quality silicone tunnels plugs? What is the place to get the highest quality tunnels plugs? So I definitely have a few shops that I shop with online. My favorites to go to are Urban Body Jewelry and Body Art Forms. The silicone tunnels that I have in right now with this hanger here is from Urban Body Jewelry. They're some of my favorites. I have a black pair and then a clear pair. They hold up pretty well. They clean easily. They don't harbor a whole lot of gunk, but those are the two places that I tend to gravitate towards. I'm sure there are plenty others online that people would recommend, but those are my two favorites. Any tips for healing a Medusa? Well, for starters, I have an entire video over here regarding that specific piercing. It's a comprehensive guide, so if you'd like to check that out, it is there for your viewing pleasure. But the biggest tips are to make sure that you are rinsing your mouth out, especially after you eat something or drink something that might be a little bit sugary, that's not just water. Rinsing it out so that food particles or anything like that don't get stuck between your lip and the jewelry, because then that's what can lead to irritation. And just keep up with aftercare like you normally would. And then once you can downsize your jewelry, absolutely do so, because if it's still getting caught on your teeth, it's too long. But that's after it's gotten to the point where you can downsize, because you don't want to downsize too early, because then that can further irritate things. How long does it take until the initial swelling goes down for a tragus piercing? It was pierced 3 weeks ago and it's still as swollen as it was after it was pierced. And why is it so itchy? Got my conch pierced at the same appointment and that one doesn't itch as bad as my tragus. So itching usually comes with the territory of healing. If you have ever gotten a cut before, a scrape before, anything like that, you know when it scabs over and it gets to that itchy point? That's just the body trying to heal it. Some piercings you may not experience it with. Other piercings you're definitely gonna feel it on. I'm the same way. Some of my piercings have been itchy before, others not so much. And that's pretty typical for the healing process. Now, as to why it may be more swollen than say your conch piercing, again, it depends on the body as well as the placement. Keep in mind that because you got 2 piercings at the same time, your body is trying to divide up its attention to heal both of those at the same time, which is why I always recommend only get 1 piercing at a time so that your body can focus on that one. But since there are 2 healing right here, your body is dividing its attention, and it may have put a little bit more attention toward the conch piercing than to the tragus piercing. So unless you're noticing other things like oozing or bleeding or way more crusties than the conch, then this is pretty typical. Swelling will go down. It also is the placement of it. To me, tragus piercings have always been a little bit more difficult to heal than a conch piercing. I know I'm the anomaly on that one because I know a lot of other people have dealt with issues when it came to their conch piercings and I did not. But just keep that in mind, with 2 piercings trying to heal at the same time, your body may have focused more on one than the other. Did you have, forget your exact wedding date, any negative comments, questions regarding being a bride with tattoos and piercings? I've heard people asking, what about your tattoos, piercings when you get married? And more specifically asking brides to be things such as, aren't you going to cover those up? Take those out for your wedding day. So I actually haven't said my specific wedding date, so that's why you don't remember it, because I actually haven't put it out there into the universe yet what day it is. It's coming up. It's in November, so it hasn't happened yet. I actually haven't heard too many of those comments myself. The only one that I've really heard it from is my grandma, who does not like tattoos or piercings. And then I accidentally showed her all of my tattoos on my arms on the 4th of July. Oops. Didn't mean to do that, but hey, at least she knows about them now. And she did ask me if I was gonna cover them up, and I was like, nope. Like, I had planned to at first because I knew she wasn't a fan and I just didn't want to hear the comments. And like, I was gonna get a wedding dress that had sleeves and everything like that. And then I decided, you know what? It's my wedding day. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be as true to me as possible. The only person that I've really heard comments like that from were my grandma. And even then, she hasn't said too much about it since the 4th of July. When I was like, you know what, this is who I am, and I'm sorry that you don't appreciate that part of me. And she just went, So I was kind of surprised I haven't heard too much about it myself. We'll see on the day of the wedding. I found your channel from the Daith piercing video from a few years back. I got my Daith piercing a year ago, and there's 2 bumps just like in your video, and it's bleeding after a year. Should I get it checked out? Absolutely, you should get it checked out, and please do not follow what I did in that video that you're referencing. Please don't do that. Cliff Notes version for anyone who hasn't seen that video, which is one of my most viewed videos. I took a thumbtack and popped the bump. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Although it did work out for me in the end, please don't do that. Yes, definitely go seek either professional piercer, have them look at it so that they can guide you the best direction, or if it's really getting out of hand, go seek medical help. Please don't do the thumbtack method. What's your preferred method of removing Sanoderm? Definitely do it in the shower, because the first time I ever removed Sanoderm, I did it dry. I don't recommend that. I'm pretty sure I saw stars. It can be pretty painful doing it dry. So my preferred method is definitely while I'm in the shower, while it's gotten nice and wet, makes it a little bit easier to pull off. And also, it's one of those things that instead of like doing it slowly and then stopping every so often, I'm one of those people, doesn't rip it off, but I'm just like, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I may feel a little bit of pain in that process, but it's better than completely ripping it off in one piece or going slowly, stop, just keep going. Keep going. How do you feel about horizontal lip piercings? So I don't really have an opinion about horizontal lip piercings. I know the most common one that people see is through the bottom lip. So you have 2 little balls that sit on the bottom lip. I don't really have an opinion about them. They can look pretty cool. However, I have heard that they can be a little bit difficult to heal, but I don't really have too much of an opinion about them just because it's not something that I myself have ever looked into getting done before. Maybe if I did a little bit more research, I'd have a better opinion, but honestly, I haven't really thought about it too much. What piercings do you plan on getting after your wedding? So I definitely want to get my right nostril redone. That is, at this moment in time, the only one that I plan to get after the wedding. I wanted to get it done before the wedding, and then just too many things were happening. Didn't have enough time, so it's gonna wait until after the wedding. Really want to get that one done. High nostrils are still on my mind, not as heavily as they used to be, but they're still there. So maybe that, I don't know though. Right now, that right nostril is the only one that I want to get done. In your opinion, what's the hardest piercing to heal? Well, there was a time that I would have told you my date, considering what we discussed earlier about that whole bump and popping it with a thumbtack and things like that. So there would have been a time when I've told you that. However, I did just recently have to go to the ER to have my second forward helix removed with a scalpel. So maybe I'll say forward helix. That's a story for another time though. Do you plan on getting any more piercings or tattoos in the next year? If so, what ones? Definitely more tattoos. Again, the piercing thing, I just want my right nostril redone. But as for tattoos, absolutely. I haven't had a tattoo now since May or June, which is a really long time for me to go. I would love to start a chest piece in 2023. I don't know if we're gonna get there, but I would love to. Do I know what I'm gonna get? Absolutely not, but we'll get there. I know my main artist that does all my animal nature tattoos is opening her books up in November, so I'm hoping to get on her schedule at some point. Do I know yet what I'm gonna get? No, but I got a little bit of time to think. I got a little bit of time to think about it. What happens to a tattoo if you get a cut and it scabs? Will it damage the tattoo? I have gotten numerous cuts and numerous little scabs on my tattoos over time, and I've honestly questioned this too, but then as I look over my tattoos, I don't see anything abnormal looking, especially this finger tattoo, the lotus. I have cut this one so many times, really deep cuts too. Weird instances of why it would get cut. There was one time on my dog's food container, somehow it left a big gash. I look at it now and it healed up just fine. So even if you end up getting a cut on any of your tattoos and it scabs over, unless it was something really, really deep that required stitches, you should be fine. Best way to decide what tattoo to get. I want one, but it's forever, so I want to be sure it's something I love forever. So for me, I have a bunch of animal tattoos, and that's something that I have loved my entire life, are animals. So I knew I wanted a bunch of animal tattoos. Find something that there's a love for or an interest in that goes a little bit deeper than just within the last month or so. Nothing against that. I have tarot cards tattooed on me, and that's something that's relatively recent for me. It's something that I became interested in back in 2015, something like that. 2015. So that's a relatively newer love interest of mine, but that's what I always recommend, is just go for something that you have a deeper love for, a deeper interest in. I'm planning to get a daith piercing after the tragus heals. Are you able to wear earbuds comfortably? I'm able to wear earbuds just fine. Can I wear them for really, really long periods of time? No, my ear starts to hurt after about 5-6 hours or so, but 5-6 hours is a pretty good amount of time, if you ask me. So I can wear mine just fine, no problem. Do you have any cartilage piercings that was made with a gun? Not anymore. I had one way back when, before I knew any better, and got it done at Claire's, and it got so infected, it was so poorly done that my dad had to take pliers to remove the jewelry because it was just eroded into my ear. I had one at one point and no longer do, and no one should be going to get piercings with guns. Please don't. How does one deal with allergies and a new nostril piercing? Allergies and a new nostril piercing can be a bit rough, which is why sometimes I recommend, if you're gonna get any kind of nose piercing done and you suffer from allergies, do it at a time where your allergies are lessened. So maybe during the winter time or something like that. I know for me, I deal with a lot of sneezing during the spring. So for me, I wouldn't get any piercing like that done in the spring because I know my nose is going to be running or I'm going to be sneezing a lot or anything like that. Even during the winter though, then you deal with the possibility of it being really cold out and then you're sniffling a lot. Really see what time of year you suffer from the least amount of allergies. Unless it's a year-round thing, then it's just gonna be one of those things that you have to be really conscious of while it's healing. Try not to blow your nose so hard, try not to wipe so hard. Make sure that you're continuing with your allergy medications if you're on any to kind of lessen it. At that point, it becomes a conscious effort to make sure that you're cleaning away, snot that may be around the jewelry, but also not irritating it further by being too rough with it. And the final question, do you think you will still like all your piercings when you were in your 80s? Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna like all my piercings a year from now. The good thing about piercings is that if I don't like them, I can take them out. Will I have a little bit of a scar? Probably, but it's one of those things that they are semi-permanent because yes, a scar still lingers. No, it's not like you take the jewelry out and ta-da, it's like you never had it before. There is gonna be like a little hole there unless it closes up slightly. Even then it may not close up all the way, but if I decide I don't want something in my 80s, I'll take it out, and that's that. But I mean, honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna like something 6 months from now. Just kind of depends. Can't live in the future. You gotta live in the now. So that is it for this month's Body Mod Q&A. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. If I didn't get to your question, it's either one that got asked before I got to your question, or I had a few others that were similar to it, or you asked more than one question, and I usually only pull one question per person. If you would like to ask a question in the next Body Mod Q&A, again, leave those comments below, or follow me on Instagram and wait for me to pop up that question box. Special thank you to my patrons. You can help support the channel on Patreon while having access to videos early, viewing patron-only content, and more. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to go down there and hit that subscribe button, as well as that notification bell, so YouTube will let you know when I upload next. But until next time, bye all!